All right. Good morning, everybody. It's Monday, the Monday after the first eclipse, after the new moon. I know a lot of you have been sharing with me, some of the challenges that are coming up, and I'm appreciating that. So I wanted, after we do our breathing, I'll pull some cards and then I'll do a little bit of what I'm sensing, seeing, feeling about the energies in between the eclipses and a little bit more about eclipses so that yeah, so that we're just reminded. It's just about being reminded because you know all of this. This is all inside you, but again, we're all remembering. So, all right, first things first, we're going to do some breathing. And good morning again. For those of you joining in the ethers and listening later, we're feeling you and we're grateful to have you as well. So, yay. All right. So finding a place that's comfortable. If you cannot close your eyes, you don't have to, but if you can bring your awareness down into your body, which sometimes can take a lot. So just take a moment, bringing your awareness. If you want to close your eyes, you can. Sometimes it's easier to drop in through your heart, but if you want to drop in through your womb space, their sacral center, you can. And just bring your awareness down through your body all the way to your feet. If you can sense or feel the bottom of your feet, and just allowing yourself to really sense the earth's energy underneath your feet. So feeling the earth, feeling that beautiful, powerful energy under the earth, and just letting yourself connect deeply with every part of this support energy that's here with us right now. Okay. And feeling, if you want to, going down, putting roots into the earth, feeling the earth center, the core. And we're going to breathe up from here. It's really important to ground, especially during eclipse season, right? So dropping down, feeling your energy move through the layers of the earth, sensing that real support, that groundedness. Moving to the core if you wish. And from there, we're going to breathe in 4 breaths up through the soles of the feet, filling your belly. Exhaling when you're ready through your mouth. Breathing in up through the soles of your feet, expanding your belly. And breathing out when you're ready. Dropping down a little deeper, breathing in up through the soles of your feet, expanding your belly. Exhaling when you're ready. Breathing in up through the soles of your feet, expanding your belly. Expanding a little more. And exhaling. Take another minute to ground a little bit more if you need to just brush off any energies, release anything into the earth, just letting it go. And then taking one more breath in up through the soles of the feet. And exhaling. Right. We'll come back. I am holding back a laugh because as I was doing that breathing and centering and grounding and, trying to get all relaxed and calm, a train, we live right across from the railroad tracks, and a train is and there's intersections. So it's got its train horn on full blast right through here. So actually, which is very interesting, and I think an incredibly powerful analogy for this time. And I couldn't help, I think it's a Bruce Springsteen song where he's got the freight train going through his head. I can't remember exactly the lyrics. If I could sing, I would sing it for you. Freight train in his head. So anyway, I just thought that was hilarious, but I think a really good analogy, because in a way that is what's happening. You're calm, you're centering, you're doing everything to do to ground, and the train is just barreling through and making sure it. So that is actually very much the energy of an eclipse. So I'll come back to that after we pull the cards, but everything that we do, I really believe this, anything that's going on in our environment when we are meditating or just trying to center, it is important to pay attention to. So, if your cat or your dog or your horse or the train or a plane or a bird or whatever is in the environment, really important to pay attention to that, because there's messages. And that's the beauty of life, is that there are messages everywhere. How we interpret them is up to us. And that is, again, I just muted myself. Okay. And that is, okay, now that's good. Maybe I was supposed to mute myself. Anyway, we'll just leave it there and I'll start drawing cards. How's that? Okay, here we go. We're going to pull an anchor card from the Mother Piece. And, for those of you who aren't always here, and by the way, welcome. You are not on the camera, so you're good. It's only me today. And if you want to put anything in the chat, feel free. If you want to mention where you're located, you're welcome to do so. If you don't want to, that's fine. But I'm always interested in connecting people through community. So if some of you live near each other, that would be pretty exciting, right? So welcome to do that if you'd like to. All right. First card. All right, the first card. It's the same one as last week. Okay, so big surprise. Boom, boom, boom. 2 of discs. Now, this takes on an even greater meaning when we start to add the freight train and we start to look at potentially those discs as one moon and then the other moon, right? So I'm thinking there's a lot going on. This particular card, and I know I always say to you, just find yourself in the card, find yourself in the card. Yep, find yourself in the card, absolutely. You could be the snake, you could be the mama, you could be a baby, you could be one of the reels or discs, you could be a tree, but find what is speaking to you first. Find what is speaking to you first. Okay. And what I'd like to say is, this is the energy, needing to find the balance of so many things all at once, right? And you'll notice this is really close. It's a crescent moon, but it's really close to what the new moon looks like. Oh, if I can get it to, do its thing. There we go. We got a little moon up there at the top. And that's probably how it looks right about today, actually. So we're in that phase of the moon. So excited. Thank you for dropping in your locations in the chat. I'm very glad that you're all here. And super happy. Super happy. All right. That's the anchor card. Busyness, eclipse energy, lots going on, the need to find balance. I'm now going to pull from the Sacred Forest Oracle. I figured we deserved an extra card today before we pull our other 3. So I'm going to pull from the Sacred Forest Oracle. It was what was really coming to me this morning. Energy to support us during this eclipse portal. Energy to support us. Of course it is. Okay, it's number 44, which I think is really important. And I'll talk about that in a minute. It's growth. Oh, big surprise, right? Now, toadstools, this is very interesting. I'm going to reveal a lot here in a moment, but again, I'm just going to have to laugh for so many reasons. Anyway, toadstools growth number 44. So one of the things that I was thinking about this morning, among many other things, is that this emphasis on mushrooms for Christmas decorations, I've noticed already. I don't think it's not even Halloween yet, but people are starting to put their Christmas decorations, you know, the stores and everything. There's an emphasis on these particular kinds of mushrooms, these little red ones. Now, it's not that I don't like mushrooms, you know, as a general plant. But I just couldn't understand the emphasis on that for the Christmas decoration. So that was actually part of my thinking this morning. And there's really no need to explain it, but they're clearly in the field. So one of the things I do remember as a child, these particular mushrooms, the red ones with the little dots, were very popular, trending in all kinds of ways during my childhood, very young childhood. And my grandmother made me a dress that was, the pattern was these mushrooms. So I myself am going to have to go in and do a little digging around and find out, well, what is this about? What is being shared with me around this particular image? For the rest of you, curious, and again, you can, thank you for saying hi. You can just kind of ask yourself, what speaks to you in this image? What speaks to you in this image? I mean, the word growth is there, right? The word toadstools. The number 44, which is a super high frequency number, one of the highest numbers, it's really about foundation. It's really about balance, because it does, we don't add double numbers in my numerology, but if you were to, it would be 8, which would be about balance. I like that very much. If you're monitoring the chat, excellent idea about overgrowth. Yeah, I kind of like that. But thank you so much. And if I don't mention your name, it's only because I'm preserving privacy, but I'm just know that I am grateful for your participation here. And so number 44, vibration, really high level of growth or transformation, but also looking at, yeah, where might we be overgrowing or maybe undergrowing? That's an interesting idea. I'm really grateful for that insight there. So I'm actually going to do a little bit of something I don't normally do. I'm going to actually look it up in the book and give you all a little bit of what Denise Lynn says. I really like Denise Lynn. I've been reading her books since the 70s and really appreciate her. Okay. I like this. Though the forest floor looks sedate, beneath the surface, a kind of enchantment is occurring as the mushrooms grow and wait. Then, when conditions are right, there is an explosion of toadstools throughout the woods. It happens so fast, it seems magical, yet preparations have long been occurring out of eyesight. The fairies and elves rejoice and even dance in the fairy rings. I like it, Julia. Oh, thank you. I'm trying to preserve the privacy. Thank you. Transformative integrations. And yes, I love what this book says, because in a sense, when we're in the eclipse portal, and so again, I pulled this card to help us during the eclipse portal. Much that has been underground, much that we've been preparing for, or much that has been just here underneath the surface is now coming out. And for those of you that have shared with me some things about your personal experiences, I'm just going to say this, that when stuff comes to the surface, I would like to believe that it is for healing. It is for the, I'm not saying it's fun, by the way, I'm not at all. bypassing that. But I do think that it's sort of like when I've had different healing modalities in the past, and I'll go in and I'm feeling like, not great, but here. And then all of a sudden, stuff surfaces after the healing session, right? That is usually because it's been underneath the surface and it's been latent. So those of you that are familiar with, let's just use acupuncture as a modality. If there's stagnant blood somewhere from an old injury, there are different things in the modality that will bring that blood to the surface so it can clear, right? You don't want that in your life. So having an opportunity to see what maybe had been stagnant or seemingly so underneath the surface, having it come to the surface. And, to answer one of the questions in the chat, interesting idea, this idea of overgrowth, and I will let the originator of that word share if she wants to, but I will say for myself, if there's too much of something, sometimes there's too much energy in one direction or another. Again, I am not a medical practitioner at all, but if there's too much of one kind of energy and we want to balance that out with a different kind of energy within the body, right? Or within our lives, if I'm working too much, never, but if I'm working too much and not playing enough, I've maybe overgrown that part of my life a little bit. And now I'm coming back and saying, how do I do this? I'm not exactly the poster child for that, by the way. I'm going to give you a little preview. Next year is an 8 year numerologically, and I am an 8 soul and life path 8. So one of the things that happens in an 8 year is things that are out of balance try to come into balance. As an 8, so I will speak to this idea. What happens sometimes, I'm not saying it's going to happen every time, is I'll just go full force into, like, I love my work, right? So I'll go full force into my work, and I love my friends. So then I'll go full force into seeing as many people as I can when I'm visiting, but I don't dial back the work. So now, I very much do feel like this card a lot of the times. I've upped everything and not shifted to find the balance. So that is something that people who have an 8 life path or soul path do contend with at times. And so the inner balance, the inner equilibrium, really important to maintain, as well as the outer equilibrium. Oh, there was one more thing I wanted to say about this card before I let it go completely. She does say, and I think this is really important, beneath the surface of your life, miraculous changes are occurring. Something you thought was ordinary is in fact remarkable. You are in a time of rapid spiritual and material growth. Get ready and hang on for the ride. So the question I asked was, what will support us during the eclipse portal? And I think it's an excellent reminder. Excellent reminder. We are being supported. There is a lot happening. And again, I know I've received so many beautiful emails, particularly since last Friday. And I know some of you are really, really, really struggling. We are not stopping our prayers for peace. We are, in fact, increasing them. And peace, inner and outer, right? So when I wrote on Friday about peace begins with me, that song that came into my being for the first time in at least 4 decades, maybe more. I thought, yes, that is where it needs to start, me, and then moving out into the world. So there's a lot to contend with right now, whether it's external or internal. And I'm just going to continue to really encourage all of us to do what we can, right? Do what we can to maintain inner equilibrium as much as possible. That is so important. So important. Okay. All right. So now we're going to do the 3 cards. And again, the idea here is what will be supportive as we move through. And is there anything we need to know? I always keep that question close whenever I'm doing any sort of tarot reading. Is there anything else I need to know? And that's, not always, we'll find out what happens. Okay. First card today. Well, we start here with the Queen of Wands. And again, because these cards are so vivid and so beautiful, I'm just going to ask you to put yourself into the mix here. Where are you in this card? What do you feel? What do you notice? There are so many details. And where do you, again, what is surfacing for you is probably the most important. I know there's some sort of psychedelic show going on with my camera. I don't know how to fix that, but I'll try to be steady with holding this. Love that song. I will play it later. Awesome. All right. So Queen of Wands, just put yourself in the card, feel it. And know that this is energy that is designed that we need to know that will support us during the eclipse, right? Again, same question, next card. Knight of Pentacles or Knight of Discs, depending on your decks. And again, what do you see? What do you notice? What do you feel? What's the first thing that comes to your mind, to your heart, to your gut? We all receive information differently. There's no one right way. There's your way. And then there's your way getting better and better every time. And what I notice with these cards is I tend to pull similar cards for myself a lot. These cards have not come out for me recently, so I really do feel these are collective. I do love the horse in here for those of you that love horses. Looks very happy. Okay. And then the last card, designed to, again, support us, give us information, is, wow. I've actually don't think I've ever pulled this card for myself, and I don't think I've ever pulled this card for Cosmic Compass. All right, I'm going to try to get it in focus here. There we go. So again, what do you notice? What stands out? What do you feel? I know support is key right now, right? I have to say, I will just say there's a lot of magic in these cards. And for those of you that know the tarot, Queen of Wands, Knight of Pentacles, and Nine of Pentacles, these Nine of Pentacles and Knight of Pentacles are very much the earthly plane, right? Like the resource plane. I know, I saw that too, actually, about the peace, reaching for it, but it's there, right? It's within reach. Yeah, and that there's definitely magic afoot, right? Okay. So I will let you sit with those. I will put the affirmations into the follow-up email today or tomorrow. No promises. Maybe Wednesday. Soon as I can. How's that? Let me put these up. So that was our first one, kind of showing us where we are. Growth. Queen of Wands. I know these are not coming out very clear, but in a minute, maybe. Just gonna pull them here. There we go. Beautiful cards. This is just really a beautiful reading. If you have a sense of the overall message, I think we have that right now. Yes, exactly. The stories are incredible. And when I'm- I just really appreciate the beauty of her artwork because this is Chris Ann, she does the Light Seers Tarot. I just so grateful. This artwork is beautiful and it does tell a story, and they're very close to what I would say is the deep essence of the meaning of the cards. She definitely takes a more light, it's called the Light Seers Oracle Tarot, right? So she's definitely taking more of the light path, which I'm fine with. She also has the shadow in there. I really encourage people to get this deck, especially if it's your first deck. I love the Mother Piece because it's my first deck. And I will always love it. And I really, really always recommend Angeles Arian's Tarot Handbook for explanations. But if you just want one thing, I would get the Light Seers Tarot for right now. And I think there's a little pocket version coming out. I haven't seen it for sale yet, but I'm going to have to get that for all my travels so that I can take the little pocket version with me. All right. So that is our tarot for today, for this week. I do want to talk a little bit more about this time that we're in right now. There is, in every sense of the word, support coming from the cosmos, coming from the other side. I'm not saying that I'm great necessarily at always feeling that, by the way. Just because I say something doesn't mean that, oh, hey, I've got it all figured out. No. But what it means is that I'm living it with all of you. And so one of the things that seems very clear to me is chaos seems to be a very common, almost, very common experience right now, whether it's inner chaos in the body or outer chaos around. So what to do when we're having chaos around us? Clearly, if we look to the cards, we know that there's support coming from the magical realms. There's support coming from the earthly realms, right? The earthly resources. And that we are, in fact, being asked to do the magic or be the magic that we signed up for this time around. That may or may not resonate with you, but that is how I really feel. When things are challenging for me in some way, I'm right now, I'll just share with you, during these eclipses, I'm looking at patterns, ways I see things, habits, things I do without thinking. And when I say do, I don't just mean brushing my teeth. I mean my response to something, whether that's a fear response or an anxiety response or uncertainty, lack of confidence, whatever it is. And I'm looking at that response and I'm asking myself, is there a different way? What else would I like to feel in this moment? How else would I like to feel? What other outcome would I like to experience instead of this one? So many times, especially if we've grown up with trauma, and even if it's just small t trauma, right? It doesn't have to be the biggest trauma in the world. It's so important for us to not compare ourselves. Very important. Sometimes growing up with stress, trauma, anxiety, being a very sensitive person in an insensitive world, right? We will have experiences that make sense given how the world is around us or how our childhoods came about. As adults, one of the things I can say for myself that and again, Saturn return, right? That I have a responsibility for is to rewire myself. What is a different response? A lot of times, without even knowing it, I'm having a response based on this inner child who has suffered in some way. Now, there's a lot of ways to do that rewiring. Some take some professional support and guidance. Others take just, again, listening and being aware and responding differently. I tend to go more toward the professional support when I'm getting really stuck. So what I've been doing with the Libra new moon is looking at myself and my relationship with myself, my relationship with my responses, my relationship with life, my relationship with anything in my life, a person, situation, and asking, how can I see it differently? How can I create a different experience with this? What would help me? Now, I cannot speak for everyone. All I can do is speak for myself. And when I look at my chart, I look around and I get distracted by the chat, but I get excited. So I'll come back to that in a minute. When I'm looking at my chart, I look to see what are my support areas. Libra is this new moon was in my first house. So again, that's one of the reasons why I'm looking at myself. Libra might be in a different house for you, and you might need to look at a different theme. And then I look, okay, wait, I have this Sagittarius moon that I tend to ignore a little bit. So how can I give more energy to my Sagittarius moon, right? How can I utilize that love of life, that generosity, that play, that spirit of inspiration? And here's the kicker for me, faith. Sagittarius really encapsulates faith. How can I trust in divine support? How can I trust in divine timing, even when things are really hard? And my life is not hard right now compared to some people's situations, right? So, but perception for me. So that's one of the ways that I go about it. And then I look to Venus. Where's my Venus? My Venus is in Gemini, and it is actually not quite opposite my moon, but it's they're on the same spectrum, right? Gemini wants to know things, wants to be curious, and needs to explore. So being curious is another way to kind of sidestep some of my anxiety, right? How can I get curious about this? How can I explore more? Okay. All right. I have to read this comment. Thank you so much. So the comment is mentioning the book, The Fourth Turning. It gives historic perspective on this moment in time that we're in and when things will shift. I haven't read the whole book, but I've seen a talk about it. Okay. Thanks for sharing that. I've not heard of the book. I will look it up. And if anybody else ends up reading it or listening to it, maybe it's on Audible, let me know. And I will get to it as soon as I can. I have a nice stack of books going over here, things I need to read and want to read. But thank you so much for sharing about that. So again, each of us is having our own experience. Collectively, though, what is happening? Collectively, the shift is occurring. Pluto doesn't mess around. Pluto does not mess around. Pluto is the planet of transformation. It's the planet of growth. It's actually very represented in this card. Pluto is what is going on beneath the surface where that can't be seen until it is. And one of the things that I would like to say is that Pluto is now direct. We are now going back through the last degrees of Pluto for the last time in our lifetimes. When we were going through the last degrees of, I didn't say that right, the last degrees of Capricorn in our lifetime, when Pluto was going through the last degrees of Sagittarius, I don't know that I was paying as much attention. We're talking the last degrees we were going through were probably from 2007 to 2010. Okay. So if that means anything to anyone, 2007 to 2010 were rather challenging years for me. that did ultimately lead to a lot of change. And it did require a lot of faith on my part, at least for me. With Pluto and Capricorn, really, truly, institutions, structures, traditions, the way things have always been done, there's been a need to change that within ourselves and in our world. It's not done to hurt us, but it is done so we can see what needs to change. And, you all know that my heart really feels how much energy is there to show us what needs to change. The cosmos can't do that for us. We have to do that. That's why we come to Earth. Pluto's energy is very much about the soul's journey. So the question does seem to keep surfacing. What did I promise my soul I would do in this lifetime? What are the experiences that I said I wanted to have in order to grow, in order to evolve, in order to be of service, in order to help? So, yeah, there's so much to unpack here, right? One of the ways you can look at your chart and you can look at your North Node and you can ask yourself through the North Node, what path is a good one for me to take to really acknowledge my soul's growth and to support my soul? So for me, one of the paths is the Cancer North Node. So Cancer has obviously the nurturing, the nourishment, and the wanting everyone to come together, right? So one of the ways that I can participate is by doing what we're doing right now, right? It's not the only way, but it's a way. And truthfully, I don't cook. That's a common thing people ascribe to Cancer. I don't cook real well, but I love to see that people are nourished, animals, plants, everything nourished. Love that. And again, how am I doing that for myself? And how is that supporting my soul's journey? So each of you can look at your chart, or you can have me look at it, of course. And I can, or we can explore what are the points that your soul has asked you to look at in this lifetime. So Saturn will be going direct soon enough. It's at 0 degrees right now of Pisces. That feels really significant to me, especially during the eclipse portal. Pisces is divine love. Pisces is the deep feeling of the knowing of the oneness and the unity. It's also what is hidden. These water signs they're deep, right? So, with Cancer, we're looking at emotions and nourishment. With Pisces, we're looking at sensitivity, intuition, feeling beneath the surface. And with Scorpio, we're looking at all the other realms, right? So Pluto rules Scorpio, and the moon rules Cancer, and Neptune rules Pisces. So with Saturn at 0 degrees Pisces right now, I feel like the cosmos is saying, what are you learning that you can take forward into this next stage? What sensitivities, what intuition, what depth of knowingness at a soul level can you take into this next 2 years of time? There's more that will surface. We need sacred containers. A lot of times when I look at Saturn in any sign, I ask myself, what sacred container is needed for this particular sign? So with Pisces, it's very collective and it's very spiritual. So where do I feel most connected to something that is solid, strong, supportive? And I think most of us gathered here really look to nature. We look to our beloved animals. And I think that the stars for me are that other piece. You know, I did not witness the eclipse, but some of us here were in the middle of a meditation during the eclipse, and it was quite intense. But anything happening with, what's going on around us, how can I have a sacred container for that? And so whether that might be an altar in your house, it might be a time of day that you decide you want to sit quietly, listen. You can meditate, you could pull cards. Journaling is a sacred container, the way I see it. So all of these things are really being asked for. And once Saturn starts to move direct again, it doesn't move very quickly. So it'll be at 0 degrees for a while, but by December, it'll have moved away from that and into some early degrees. And then by next year, it'll move significantly more into Pisces. Each of the degrees has a meaning, and I'm not going to go over that today, but they are really powerful. And those are called the Sabian symbols or the Chandra symbols. They are esoteric. They were made up, if you will, but how were they made up? They were made up or written through years of study of how the planets, when they landed in these certain signs at these certain degrees, how things felt or how they looked or what was happening in the world. So I can go over those more another time, but again, just as a reminder, we're here going through this together. That's a very Piscean look. All right, there's more to say. Yes, I hear that. I'm in my Saturn return, so I'm familiar with a lot of Saturn energy. I do want to speak to that though, because there is something about Saturn conjunct any planet, or in this case, the North Node. There is this wake up call with Saturn. What are you learning? What have you learned? How will you restructure things and go forward? Pluto says, how will you evolve? What have you learned? And let's just radically change your life while we're at it. Okay. So if Saturn's conjunct the North Node, for an example, the question is, oh boy, what did I promise my soul I would do in this lifetime? How am I giving myself the structures and the environment and the steps and the support that I need to accomplish that North Node? So clearly North Node's in Pisces. So Saturn in Pisces on that North Node could be really powerful, because Pisces North Node, beautiful. I know so many people with Pisces North Node. There's just this deep spiritual well that is just profound. And because the South Node is in Virgo, the tendency is to want to apply practical reason to everything. Not your path this lifetime. Sorry. And South Node in Virgo is also very much, the practice of healing, health, and medicine. All good. You can bring all of that into this lifetime. And Pisces says we're taking it into the spiritual realm now. We're taking it beyond the knowing of the tangible. So when Saturn conjuncts the North Node in Pisces every 29 years, it says, hey, I'm here. I can give you some support. What do you need, oh, North Node in Pisces people, to really help you evolve into this divine timing, divine knowing, divine connection? I will also get very practical with you. It also says, is there anything you've stayed in too long? Because Pisces, I have Saturn in Pisces. So obviously, if I'm having my Saturn return, as a Taurus, I tend to be very devoted and I'll stick with something for a long time. Pisces actually has a very similar, tends to give so much, right? So when Saturn gets to any planet in Pisces and or the North Node, it says, have you been overgiving in a part of your life? With the North Node, it's kind of a little different because you're wanting to move more into the Pisces energy. And at the same time, Saturn's kind of this good place to discern. That's another good word for Saturn, and assess. Am I going about it in a way that is good for me? Right? Am I going about it in a way that's good for me? If your soul is saying, hey, we haven't even started, then Saturn's saying, let's get to it. What do you need to get on it? So I'm very, I'm in a, Saturn. I've got a lot of us have Chiron and Pisces actually. So Saturn will be coming up on our Chirons at some point in the next couple of years. That's also interesting. What do I need to continue my healing? What do I need to bring forth the healing energies that are in me that want to be shared more in the world? Okay, North Node, Soul. Knowing you as I do, I would say I'm excited for you to be doing whatever comes next. There's so much talent in this group that's gathered here. And with everyone who's listening, there's so much talent. And it's not always easy to bring that talent to the surface. You know that I moved to a town called Talent, right? So I have to make sense of that too. Like, how is the talent coming to the surface? How am I? And when I started my work many, many years ago, 25 years ago here, and then I had moved away for a long time, I worked with a lot of artists, and I worked with a lot of really creative people who wanted to bring their talents and their energy and their gifts into the world. That's why I started doing what I do. It's what I love. I love witnessing, supporting, bringing people whatever, insight or guidance might be supportive to get everyone moving in the direction they want to be moving in. That's my Saturn in Pisces, right? That's my Saturn. Saturn's also about teaching. I love to teach, obviously. And I love to be able to create a structure that's sacred so that everyone can find their way. So there's a lot, obviously, to contend with right now. I think the best thing we can do for ourselves and for each other is to very much listen to what's going on, journaling, really talking to our soul, to our higher self, to our guides, nature in some form, listening to our beautiful, beloved animals if we have them. They have lots of messages. And what are those messages? And the signs coming through, right? Birds, any animals you see. The animal realm contains a lot of messages. So just a reminder of that. And for those of you that are listening, and I know that I've had a lot of emails recently, so I'm aware. For those of you that are listening and you feel helpless or powerless over something in the world or in yourself, in your own life, I can't tell you what's going to happen and I can't tell you what to do, but I can say that we're all given support systems within our, the constellation of our stars. And then each of us, when we're working together, become a constellation together in the circle to support each other. So the deepening is what's called for, because maybe the way I've been doing something isn't the best way. Even I have to ask that question. Maybe there's a better way. And clearly, a lot of us can see better ways collectively right now. We're like, we think there's a better way here. Let's go that direction. But the more we can share that in the ways that are constructive and supportive, the better. So feeling helpless and powerless is a normal human response in the face of incredible tragedies. And there is support there. There is support. Leaning into each other, finding community, sharing. It is a part of the path. It really is. And if we were meant to do everything on our own, we wouldn't be here. So again, feel free to reach out. I don't have all the answers, obviously, but what I do know is that each of us within our own design, we have gifts and talents and support. So that's my little message for today. I'm I know that next week I'm going to have Jenna come on at the very beginning of Cosmic Compass, talk about the full moon circle event that's going to happen. She's going to have it on Wednesday, I think, but I'll make sure to get clear details on that. Gathering in circle is really helpful, I think, when we're moving through something. I know time zones don't always work. I'm really happy to see our UK people here today. Yay, yay, yay. Because I'm recognizing that it's, in the evening there, and I'm appreciating that. But I realize that our New Zealand people and our Australia people, all the Japan, they're all these different time zones. So I want everyone to know that we're here. At some point, I don't think there is any one time of the day that works for everyone in the world. But there is a time and place where we do connect, and just knowing that we're putting the energies into these sacred containers for each other, for ourselves and for each other, really does make a difference, I believe, in the world. So, okay. So to lighten it up a little bit, remember the song that was suggested, Wilson Phillips, Hold On. Good idea. I like it. You can play that, or hey, maybe the one, I think it's Bruce Springsteen with the Freight Train. You could play that. And let's not overlook movement, right? Dance, movement, play, creativity. Hello, lots of really good stuff out there. I have Saturn in the 5th house, so sometimes I have to remember that, right? Like, let's play a little bit. It's okay to do that in the midst of everything. All right. It's good to see everyone. Thank you so much. I'm going to take this off of record, and we'll be done for the recording.